Funginar Sporegots. This faction is all about decomposition. They will literally take advantage of all the ships that are rotting in the graveyard, take all their scraps and metal pieces, and use them for their own sake. Now, this faction is going to be the second in the series of these faction reveals. If you haven't seen the first one, make sure you do that because we're gonna build upon the foundations that have been set there. Because last time we talked all about these tracks here on the board, which is one giant way to score points. Now today, I feel like it's easier for you to understand the mechanics of Andromeda's Edge if we take one faction or one mechanic one at a time. So for you to understand how the Funginar Sporegots work, I gotta run you through one major mechanic, and that is how to build a development. So here's how that works. On your turn, you're gonna do one major action. You have two major actions to choose from, just like dwellings, exactly like dwellings actually. One major action that you take is to launch your spaceship to one major planet or alliance space. Alliance spaces are in purple and planets are all the colorful ones shown here. If I were to launch to this planet, I can take this moon and then all the moons are gonna go onto your player station. Now on your player board, you can either turn in this moon for immediate resources, which in this case is ice or titanium. You can do that, or you can also place moons here and then you have 4 slots available. Now that will be my turn, but for example's sake, let's say I then launch my next spaceship, and in this case, it has to be adjacent to the original one in that place. So I'm gonna go here, perform the actions of that base, which is to exchange any 2 resources for 3 of these cards. These are your magic cards for Andromeda's Edge, aka tactics cards. They have a bunch of different unique abilities. And then as a free action, I can also recruit my leader, take them back, and put them on my player board. Now, why do you want a leader? Well, they are actually one of the requirements that you need in order to build a development. Okay, now here's the major upgrade that Andromeda's Edge makes from building dwellings in Dwellings of Eldervale. Here, let's say I have enough resources. Let's say I have 2 credits, right? So I have 2 credits available on my player board. I also have 2 leaders. And how you can tell the requirements that you need is by actually looking at that planet. So if you look here, in order for you to build a spaceport, you need 2 credits, and you also need to have 2 leaders. Now, once you do that, you also need to have a transporter, which is your basic unit. This is your worker unit. You need to have that transporter at that region, at that planet as well. And then you can build a spaceport by turning in those 2 credits. You are then going to take your spaceport, put it onto your transporter. It does fit in nicely just like that. And then there are also 2 slots on either side. With the leaders that I've recruited, you're gonna take those and slot them into that station. So one would fit in to the side just like that, and the other one would fit in to this side. And this sits on your transporter in that planet. You also score victory points if you have leaders there, which will be 2 points, and any other leaders in the surrounding area. In this case, I would score 1 more point for Odessa Field, but typically these developments score a lot more points. And on top of that, at the very end, you also will score 1 points depending on how far you are on the track related to that spaceport. In this case, it would be the commerce track, which is the yellow track. The higher I am here, then the higher level my spaceport is. So if I have a level 3 spaceport, which is all the way at 20 up here, then that is going to score me, in turn, 10 bonus points at the end of the game. And they also have a unique ability as well. In this case, it is a one-time use for the entire game. It allows me to exchange any 2 resources for 3 others. So you launch a ship on your turn, you gather moons, you eventually gather resources, you're gonna take those resources and then build a development in a corresponding planet. You also need to take a separate build action. Technically, you have to have a transporter on either the development office in order for you to build over here, or you also can have it on one of your modules. You're gonna be sending all your ships out, and eventually you need to bring them all back. And when you bring them back, you place them on one of these 4 modules. And in turn, this is your engine builder. So if you place it on architect, it also allows you to build the development in that region. Okay, now answering today's question, how is that related to the faction that we're talking about? Well, for the Funginar Sporegots, if you look at their ability, for the Funginar Sporegots, Fungal Growth says when building a development, you may substitute nanocarbon for other resources. So immediately, you know that you can double up on one resource in order to use that to build these developments. And then their second action comes into play, which is Decompose. This one says at the beginning of your turn, if any ships are in the scrapyard, also gain 1 nanocarbon. Clearly, the Funginar Sporegots are all about this one resource, nanocarbon. And how ships end up in the scrapyard, the main way is by battling. And trust me, ships end up in the scrapyard often, not only from you fighting the raiders, which are going to attack you if you're in their adjacent regions, but also if you choose to fight other players as well. When their ships are there, then you also get to take advantage of that scrapyard ability. Arguably, I feel like they can be a very self-destructive and a very aggressive faction too, because they want ships in the scrapyard. And then lastly, their special upgrade for their ships is the Mycillinox. It says when this becomes damaged, each opponent, excluding raiders, must damage one of their ships in the same region. And you eventually can get 5 of these transporters. Imagine there's this huge battle going on, there's a whole cluster of ships here. You send one ship, one of these transporters there, boom, toxic clouds just burst and destroy and damage all of these ships. It's great. That is how the Funginar Sporegots work. Let me know if this faction is right up your alley, if this is the type of faction that you like to play with. The poisonous, kind of subtle, low-key factions that just take advantage of the playing field and take advantage of the graveyard and all this decomposition goodness. All right, everyone, that is it for today. I will see you all in faction reveal number 3. See you later.